Good Saturday morning. I'm KHOU meteorologist Chris Ramirez. We are starting off with a mostly beautiful day here across southeast Texas. Some clouds in the sky and it is still muggy and warm, but we do have the chance for storms later on this afternoon. That's going to last until Sunday. So be on the lookout for that. If you head out and across town through the afternoon hours, we could see some ponding on roadways as well as some reduced visibility, especially in those areas that do receive the heavy downpours for this afternoon. So as we look at the currents right now, if you're heading out the door, we are seeing those temps in the 70s and 80s. We're expecting muggy and warm conditions, and then we're expecting also cooler mornings to come in the forecast through the start of next week for Monday and into Tuesday. We're going to have a dose of drier air in place that's going to bring us some still warm days, but a break from the humidity, which is the good news for all of us here across the area. Feeling just a little bit more like fall as we go into next week. So right now, if you're heading out the door, 79 degrees all across the board from Hobby Airport to Bush Airport, Sugar Land 79, 83. It still feels like temps. So the humidity is still causing the feels like temps to still be a little bit higher than those actual temps. But as far as our hourly planner, we're going to have a mostly quiet morning. Within those rain chances will start moving on in by 1 p.m. and then eventually last through 4 to 5 p.m. with high temps in the upper 80s. I think most of us are going to end up in the 90s going into this afternoon. So looking at today's forecast, afternoon storms possible. Those areas that do receive the heavier rain is going to see some cooler temperatures. 85 at Galveston, Bay City at 92 degrees. Radar right now is looking a little bit active. We're seeing some isolated showers moving into Harris County, and then more heavier rain showers happening out towards the northwest, especially in and around the Waco area. There is some flood advisories in effect for portions of central Texas through this afternoon, but it's looking more likely that this is a very isolated downpour that's happening in and around the Waco area. We're not seeing widespread issues, especially across our major highways and major interstates across the state. We're just looking at scattered rain. So you're going to run into some rain no matter where you go here if you are heading across the state of Texas. So as we look at the future track for us here across Houston, we are expecting those rain chances to start increasing by 2 p.m. We could start seeing those downpours start moving into the Houston area by 3 p.m. and we can't rule out some possible heavy rain at times. So don't be caught off guard by those showers and storms that we've all been used to this summer, especially as we get closer towards 3:30, 4 p.m. and that's when we could see some ponding on roadways as well as some dangerous lightning with that. If you hear thunder, go indoors. I know it's still warm outside. You might still be at the pool. Definitely practice that lightning safety as we head into the afternoon hours. And then Sunday rain chances are going to start become more widespread going into the afternoon hours. So definitely keep that in mind as we head into Sunday afternoon. It's looking more likely that this model is not showing much. Models have backed off for us here, but I think we're going to see a bit more scattered showers through Sunday, especially for the southern half of the state. This is for tomorrow. The Storm Prediction Center is including a large portion of South Texas under a marginal risk for flooding. That's a 1 out of 4, which basically means that we could see some ponding on roadways heading into those periods that we do see the heavier rain chances, or the rain coverage rather, through the next 24 to 48 hours. So here's a look at that 7-day rainfall outlook. This is taking into account all of the rain accumulations that are forecasted through the next 7 days. It's looking more likely that we're going to see more of that heavier rainfall along the coastal areas. So from Galveston down to Corpus Christi, even Brownsville, Rio Grande Valley, likely to see more of those heavier rainfall accumulations. We're also looking at some possible isolated areas across portions of the hill country that could get up to 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain, especially along the I-35 corridor from San Antonio all the way up to Waco. Likely to see more of that heavier rain for tomorrow. But as we look at the situation, this is all this moisture, the rain that we're currently looking at across the state is moisture from the remnants of what was Hurricane Lorena. It was a Pacific hurricane that made landfall at the Baja California. That has, of course, dissipated. It's sending a lot of tropical moisture our way. Heading into tomorrow, we're going to see all of that rain combined with the cold front that's going to be moving in from the north. That is going to be just keeping the rain in the southern portions of the state. But as we look at the dew points, we are seeing dew points in the 70s, but we're going to see a dose of drier air filter in by Monday. It's not really going to do much in terms of our afternoon temperatures, but it very well could bring us some cooler mornings here across Houston. Feeling just a little bit of a fall-like conditions in those morning hours as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, as dew points are going to drop into the 50s and 60s. And so as we look at our dew point scale, I know we talk about dew points all the time, and just keep in mind that when we see dew points, dew point is the measure of atmospheric moisture. When we see the dew points in the 70s, that's a summer muggy, humid, sticky feeling that we usually are all too used to here across Houston. But when we see those dew points drop into the 60s and below 60, that makes it more comfortable outside. It also brings us cooler overnight and morning temperatures. I know you've probably been to Vegas or portions of the desert Southwest. You know how they have usually hot afternoons and usually the morning temperatures are usually quite cold. That's kind of the same situation for us here, and that's why we're going to see some cooler conditions in the morning hours through Monday and into Tuesday. So for the start of next week, we could see those temps drop into the 60s, and you're able to see that here with our low temperature outlook. So overnight lows in the 70s, and then by Tuesday, Wednesday, 60-degree temperatures are likely to be in place across the Houston area. That's a good relief. It's not much, but we'll take it for this time of year as we've been enduring the summer heat for the past several weeks. Also, we have some good news out in the tropics. That system that we were tracking in the Atlantic, it was at a 90% chance a couple of days ago. Yesterday was at an 80% chance, and then it dropped down to 70. Now we're about 30% chance of development within the next 7 days. Very well likely. There's a very good chance, high chance, that this is not really going to form into anything as we head into the next 7 days, and it's just not looking too impressive. And we're also dealing with a lot of Saharan dust that's currently over the Atlantic. You saw that plume that was currently. I'm going to back it up just a little bit so we can see exactly what's happening and what is really causing this system to fall apart. You have a plume of dust currently over the Atlantic Ocean, and that is going to move towards the Caribbean, and it's just going to follow that system. So that layer of dry air that dust is associated with does a really good job at tearing those systems apart, and it's just not going to be much in terms of the tropics, at least for the next 7 days. However, we're still heading closer to the peak of hurricane season, so something to still look at as we head into the rest of September. But temps are expected to be above normal here across the Lone Star State, especially for us here across Houston for the next few weeks, leading into September 16th. But for your 7-day forecast, we're going to start off mostly quiet in the mornings, but then afternoon showers and storms likely for today and into tomorrow. We're going to have a break from the rain starting on Monday. We're going to start seeing those temps drop into the 60s. Afternoon temps still rather warm, summer-like here across the area, but just be on the lookout for those afternoon downpours if you are heading out and about, especially during the afternoon hours. So if you start seeing alerts on your KHOU 11 app, just stay put, because we usually have that flooding issue, especially if one area of Houston receives between 2 and 3 inches of rainfall in one given time. That's when we start seeing the ponding on roadways, as well as the potential for some minor flooding. I don't think we're going to see that today or tomorrow, but I think just be on the lookout for that. If you start seeing those weather alerts, you don't want to be caught off in the middle of the Houston streets while it's heavily raining, and especially if that rain doesn't go away. So there's a little minor flood threat, but not by much going into the afternoon hours. As far as your 7-day, or actually as far as your weekend, as we loop back into the beginning of the extended forecast, and if you're just now joining us, storms expected in the afternoon hours. I don't think it's going to be in terms of widespread rain. I think it's going to be more so the hit or miss rain chances for today, but just be on the lookout for more downpours in the afternoon hours. So we have afternoon storm chances for our weekend, muggy and warm conditions lasting, and then we're looking forward to some cooler mornings heading into next week, starting on Tuesday morning by the afternoon hours. Temps are starting off in the upper 70s, but we are going to see that rain chance start moving in by the 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock hour, and eventually by 3 p.m. So high temps today, likely to be a bit cooler in the areas that do receive the rainfall, but in terms of what we're looking at right now, we're starting to see some isolated showers moving into the northwest, especially out near Cypress, even Bryan College Station. More of the heavier rain is happening up to the north of the Houston area and around the Waco area. They're looking at some heavy rain and storms, also with some flooding alerts right now going on. I think that the flash flood warning and flood advisories now in place for portions of central Texas. That does include Gatesville, but as we look at our future track, that's where we're going to start seeing that storm chance start increasing for us here as we get closer towards 2 to 3 p.m. and we could see those downpours that could give us some hazardous roadways as well as some minor flooding concerns, but we have to watch out for that dangerous lightning. Looking at the future track heading closer towards 3 p.m. might see a downpour moving through Houston or with some heavy rain and some lightning, so keep an eye on that. especially as we head into those afternoon hours. And then more widespread rain expected. I think we're on the outer edge of this warned system from the Storm Prediction Center. They're giving all of South Texas under a marginal risk for flooding, but as we look at that rainfall outlook, I think most of the heavier rain is going to stick to along the coast and south of the Houston area, which does include areas from Galveston all the way to the Corpus Christi and the South Padre Island area. So looking at our 7-day forecast, just to wrap things up, we are seeing those highs in the 90s, still warm, a bit muggy for the weekend. We are tracking daily afternoon storm chances for the rest of our weekend, but by Monday and Tuesday, we will see some drier air in place that is going to be bringing us some relief from the heat that we've been experiencing. Maybe if you're in for a morning jog or a morning run, or maybe you like to drink coffee outside, maybe on your balcony or on your porch, I think we're going to have a fantastic forecast in terms to do that as we head into Tuesday and Wednesday, as we're going to see those lows drop into the 60s, and that's all thanks to some drier air that's going to be moving into southeast Texas, giving us a much needed break from the humidity that we've been enduring all summer. So definitely have a good and safe rest of your Saturday and weekend, and be on the lookout for storms later on today. And as always, we are keeping you up to date on KHOU.com as well as on the KHOU 11 app, and make sure to have those notifications on. We definitely send those out when weather does start getting dicey here across the Houston area. Again, I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your extended forecast, and thank you for watching KHOU 11+.